Hey, what up YouTube, and welcome back to a new video with Rams fan YT. In today's video, we've got the predictions for the upcoming week of football, starting with the midweek action tonight and ending on next Mondays. We've got some great games. We've got what is potentially already an early doors title clash within both the Championship and the Premier League, with Man City versus Liverpool and Sheffield United versus Sunderland. We also have some FA Cup action with teams that could potentially cause upsets, maybe Harborough or Tamworth, or there's a few others out there as well. Tamworth versus Burton, interestingly clash. Historically, of course, in the Southern League days, they would have been local rivals. And then there's also a few other derby days. Maybe you count Marine versus Southport as a local rivalry, considering they are both within the Merseyside region. Or maybe you count Hull City versus Middlesbrough as one. Either way, we are going to go straight into these predictions. For the first one in the Championship tonight, we've got Burnley versus Coventry City. Burnley doing a fantastic job this season, pretty much where you'd expect them to be, up and amongst it, challenging towards the top end of the table, 2 points off the automatic zone in the playoffs, fairly comfortable. Coventry still haven't appointed a manager as of yet, as of recording this video. Frank Lampard is the one who is rumoured to come in. So that does make it slightly interesting that there is no manager yet. I think Burnley will win this one as a result. They're a very good team. They don't score a lot of goals, Burnley, this season. If you look, they've only scored 19, which isn't a lot compared to the other lots around them, other than West Brom, who have also scored not many. But they have a really good defence, having only conceded 6. Sorry, conceded 6. So that is a decent outing by Burnley there. I think it's going to be 1-0 to Burnley here. A very easy, I think, relatively straightforward win for them. But they like keeping things tight, don't they? Hull City versus Sheffield Wednesday. Again, maybe could be considered a Yorkshire rivalry. I don't think either of them consider each other the main rivals of one another. I think Hull do need the points more than Sheffield Wednesday this position. Sheffield Wednesday started the season all right, 15th position, coming up to the 17th game. Hull in the relegation zone, only by a point though, and got quite the favourable goal difference over both Cardiff and Preston. So they're just probably needing to be hoping that they don't get absolutely smashed here and hopefully get some points, but I don't think they will. Sheffield Wednesday to win this one, 2-1. Norwich City versus Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth Argyle started well under Rooney. They've had a bit of mixed form of late. They're not been terrible. Just keeping above that relegation pack. There's only about 2 points the difference between them and the relegation zone. Norwich haven't overly impressed this season. I mean, I definitely think 13th is not the greatest showing from Norwich, but I do think they'll win here. They need to get back to winning ways after all. 2-1 for the host at Carrow Road. Sheffield United versus Oxford United. Oxford have really sort of tumbled since their promotion. Their promotion sort of enabled them to have a bit of momentum at the start of the season, but that has slowly drifted off a bit now. They've had a bit of a mix of form. Let's say that will be charitable. But Sheffield United, they are in the time of their lives right now. They are one of the most informed teams, if not the most informed team in the division. It's between them and Millwall. Certainly, I think Sheffield United will be very much expecting to win this game. I wouldn't want to say that they should come in with just thinking they'll roll them over. Then I think they will. I think they'll win this one 2-1 at Bramall Lane here. Stoke City versus Preston North End. If there was never a more boring mid-table clash in the Championship, please do name me one. But Stoke bang in mid-table in 12th. Preston are not in mid-table this season. They normally are, but they're down in 20th. So I do think Preston do need the points a bit more. And maybe as a result get something from this game. I don't think Stoke will over be too bothered about this one. 2-0 to Preston away from home and a much needed win for North End. Watford versus Bristol City. Watford just on the edge of the playoffs on goal difference alone. However, Bristol City have been known to have some good performances this season. I certainly think Watford have a bogey team against Bristol City from looking at the head-to-head, and I think Bristol City could win this one. I'm going to go with 4-1 to Bristol City here, which is not what Watford will want to be hearing for their playoff charges, and it certainly puts Bristol City potentially in a playoff picture. Sunderland versus West Bromwich Albion. Yeah, this is a very interesting one. Sunderland will want to try and cement their position in the top two, but there was a lot of draws of late. That's 4 draws on a spin at the moment. West Bromwich Albion are equal in the playoffs, so this is not an easy game for either of the sides. West Brom are away, though, which does make a difference, and they've also had equally a lot of draws of late. Someone's going to win this one. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Sunderland, and they will continue keeping that battle to stay in the Championship automatic zone race. Barnsley versus Reading into League One now, although this historically could have been a Championship occasion. Both of them have recently been in the Championship. Barnsley in 6th, which is not too bad. About where you would probably expect Barnsley to be at this point in the season. Reading doing well considering the trying circumstances they are under in 8th. Both are on 26 points. This could be a very, very close game indeed. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw here. I can't really split them, but I think it'll be a nice, tasty, exciting game. Certainly one to keep your eye out on. Bristol Rovers versus Blackpool. This is a game which I think both teams, Bristol Rovers probably don't need the points as much because I don't really know what their aspirations are this season, but Blackpool are just desperately trying to not get relegated down to League Two. So Blackpool probably need the points a bit more, and I think they will get them here. 2-1 for Blackpool. I think Bristol Rovers is one of them teams which will have results which go all over the place. They'll win against somebody, then they'll lose, then they'll draw. They're just all over the shop. Whereas Blackpool need to just get something from this game, end of. Burton Albion versus Charlton Athletic. Another team who needs to get a lot of points is Burton Albion, sitting at the bottom of the table with only 8 points to their name. They had a decent couple of games, but then they did lose the last one. However, that was against Stockport, so not too surprising. Charlton, however, does provide a good opportunity to get some points. They are 14th, but they've lost the last 2. They ain't the prettier side compared to past days, and they're certainly a weaker side than they've been historically. Also at home advantage would be great in this one. I think Burton Albion to win this one 2-0, which will just provide them that added points and will get them probably up to 23rd, which is not great, but they need to just get some momentum together to make sure that they try and get out of that relegation pack. Cambridge United versus Bolton Wanderers. Bolton Wanderers are finally beginning to get a bit of form together. Not enough to substantially push the playoffs, but they are in 9th, and they are only on goal difference, not in the playoffs, because there is from 5th to 9th, they're all on 26 points. It's very close in that end of the table. Cambridge United, however, had a bit of form of late. So compared to that horrid start to the season that the U's had, do I think they'll win here? Absolutely not. I think Bolton Wanderers will win this one. They need to get the playoffs to save Everett. 2-1 to Wanderers here. Exeter City versus Birmingham City. Exeter City can pull out a result out somewhere. They are only 3 points off the playoffs, so if results do go their way tonight, then they could feasibly get into the playoffs. But it is not an easy game in the slightest against at one point top of the table Birmingham City, who will probably want to be regaining that position. They are on 30 points, 1 point off getting into second, 5 points off the top of the league. Certainly, I think Birmingham will win this one. 2-1 to the Blues. Leyton Orient versus Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town are 5th the moment, but they have had some great form as of late, and they're certainly a team who should be in the Championship, and so therefore being in 5th does not surprise me. However, as a Derby fan, I know how difficult this league is to get out of at the first time of asking. But I think this one is a bit of a formality against Leyton Orient, who have dropped down into 21st. They have been competitive in some of their games, but some of them they have been truly dreadful. I think they just need to score a bit more, but honestly, I think Birmingham will, no, sorry, not Birmingham, Huddersfield will win this one. 3-1 to Huddersfield Town here. Wigan Athletic versus Northampton Town. Both of these teams not really in too much danger of relegation. Wigan about 3 points above Northampton, 2 points above for Wigan. I think they will both need some points to settle the nerves a bit more. But at the moment, it's a bit comfortable. There is a bit of space between them and the relegation zone. 16th and 17th, a pretty close game altogether. I think home advantage will pay out here. Wigan Athletic 2, Northampton Town 1. Wrexham versus Lincoln City. Lincoln City have been a bit of a dark horse this season, as I sort of expected. I did expect them to, I think I said they were in a title race, but not at the moment. They are 7th, that is still pretty good. Wrexham in 2nd. They are certainly excelling in this league. Lincoln isn't an easy team, and they are certainly not, but I do think Wrexham will overcome them in this game. 1-0 to Wrexham here at the Racecourse Ground. The final League One fixture to predict tonight is Wycombe Wanderers versus Mansfield Town. Mansfield Town started the season pretty well. They've been drifting off a bit of late, but they are still only 2 points off getting into that playoff pack. In 10th, definitely nothing to be ashamed of. But Wycombe Wanderers are top of the league. They have been on a wonderful form, having winning games left, right and centre. I think Wycombe Wanderers' running end, though, will come to an end here. Mansfield can provide being a bit of a thorn in the side for some teams, and I think they will on this occasion. 2-1 to Mansfield here. On to League Two, we've got only 2 fixtures to predict tonight, and one of them is Tranmere Rovers versus AFC Wimbledon. Yeah, Tranmere Rovers have had a bit of a slow start to this season, I think that is fair to say. They're in 20th right now, there's not really much danger of them getting relegated, but I think they will want to get some points regardless. It's not an easy game against AFC Wimbledon, who will have half an eye on the playoffs, being only 2 points outside that elusive 7th position. But it's not an easy game for Wimbledon. I certainly don't think it is. Tranmere Rovers are at home as well. I think Tranmere Rovers will win this one. 3-2. It'll be a fantastically close game. Walsall versus Bromley. Walsall are in 2nd place right now. However, it is quite close up there at the top at the moment, apart from Port Vale, who have 4 points clear at the top of the league. Whether Bromley can get something from here, well, they're in a bit of run of form themselves. They've had a win and 3 draws in the last 4 games. It's an absolutely great record to have, and I think this could be another draw here. I feasibly could see it. A 0-0 draw here we're going to go with. On to the National League. Always very exciting in this league. We've got Altrincham versus York City. York City have been fantastic this season. They are top of the league. Only by goal difference, admittedly, but they are a very difficult team to overcome. However, I think this could be a bit of a shock. Altrincham can provide a shock, and they've been in a bit of decent form themselves. I know they lost the last game, but before then, they were in a very decent run of form themselves. I think Altrincham could provide a bit of an upset here. I think they will get into the playoffs if they win this one, and I think they will win this one comfortably. 6-1. You heard it here first. 6-1 for Altrincham. And that happened last season, and I could feasibly see it happening again. I know York is quite a different team this season, but Altrincham will provide a bit of an upset. They are also at home. Braintree Town versus Maidenhead United. Looking at the other end of the table here, we've got Braintree sitting in 20th, just above relegation zone, and Maidenhead in 22nd in the relegation zone. I think if Maidenhead lose this game tonight, Alan Devonshire probably has to go. He has to go, blood. He has to go. As they said on AFTV. I think it's a very difficult job at the moment for Alan Devonshire. It's one of them things that you don't want to see a manager sacked. Especially one which has been around since 2015. And he's against his former club. Let's not remember, he did manage Braintree for 4 years. So there's probably something which a little bit of him would want to get something from this. And in the way that Alan Devonshire does, I think he will win this one. I think he'll save his job by winning this one. And it wouldn't quite lift him out relegation zone because of a goal difference swing, but I think they'll win this one 2-0. I think that'll lift them to 21st, give them a bit of hope to get into sort of mount a bit of form from that to try and surmount into that position where they don't need to worry about relegation. Dagenham and Redbridge versus Aldershot Town. Bit of a mid-table clash. Both of these on 22 points. Dagenham in 15th, Aldershot in 17th. Bit of a close game, I reckon. I think it'll be quite a high-scoring one. Dagenham have scored some of the, well, we're very high up there in terms of goals scored, scoring 31 this season. Aldershot Town have not scored as many, but 25 is still quite a respectable sum, probably more representative of where they are on the table. I think this one will end in a 3-3 draw, which is going to be an absolutely fantastic game to watch. Gateshead versus Rochdale. Both of these in the playoffs at the moment, and they will both be wanting to cement their positions. Gateshead have a bit of breathing space, admittedly, compared to Rochdale, and also at home, I do think they'll win this one 1-0 to the Heed, but overall, that is a close run affair. Hartlepool United versus AFC Fylde. AFC Fylde in the relegation zone. They've not been a disgrace this season. They've just not won enough games, is really what's happened. They've lost too many of them key battles. Hartlepool have been the most mid-table team you'll ever see this season, and I think they will continue that by just winning this game 3-1 in this game here. It is a bit of a run-of-the-mill result, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Oldham Athletic versus Boston United. Boston United did win their last game, but they're still in 23rd. It's not great pictures for the Lincolnshire side at the moment, especially when they're coming in against a really, really informed Oldham Athletic team. I think Oldham Athletic, it should be another win charted to their name. 2-1 to the Latics here, which will keep them in the playoffs and quite comfortable and happy. Sutton United versus Solihull Moors. Solihull Moors will be wanting to get some points here. They are 1 point outside of the playoffs. However, Sutton United will be wanting to try and get a bit of form themselves, having had a bit of mixed fortunes as of late, let's say that. And I think they had half an eye on getting into the playoffs this season. I think Sutton United will win this one, though. There is only 3 points separating them. I think 4-1 for the London side. But yeah, quite a competitive occasion altogether for the Sutton outfit. Woking versus Southend United. Southend have been a bit poor this season, 16th. I still remember when they were in even League One, and it's one of them things that it's sad to see them languishing down here. Woking is a team which won't be relegated. It will just be around about that 18th position at the moment, where they are now for about the whole season. But 18th versus 16th, it's not much in this game altogether. I think Southend will win this one. 2-0 to the Shrimpers. Down to the National League North, we got Alfreton Town versus South Shields. Alfreton Town are, as typically you would probably expect, in that 7th place position at the moment. They always seem to be about 6th, 7th, don't they? Just sneaking into the playoffs, but never actually succeeding in them. They're up against South Shields, who have been quite mixed this season altogether. I can see this feasibly being another Alfreton win. I'm going to go 1-0 to the Reds here. Chester versus Oxford City. Chester in 8th, they'll be wanting to try and gain some ground on the playoff hunt at the moment. They're only 1 point outside of it, and I definitely think Oxford City provides that opportunity. Oxford City are only 1 point above relegation zone. Obviously, they will be wanting points, but will they be able to achieve it against a high-flying Chester team? I don't think they will. 2-0 to Chester here, and Chester will get into the playoffs. Curzon Ashton versus Southport. Southport in 13th. At one point, it did look like a couple of games back that they might have started going on a bit of a playoff push, but now I'm less convinced. Yet again, it seems like it's going to be another season of Southport just cruising in mid-table. Curzon Ashton have been my surprise package along with Buxton this season, with them sitting nice and pretty in 5th, only 2 points off the top of the league. If Curzon Ashton get promoted, that will be something else, I would say. But I think Curzon Ashton will win this home game. It's not going to be a pretty one, but it's going to be a 3-2 win for Curzon Ashton. Quite end-to-end stuff. Darlington versus Scunthorpe United. Darlington are one of them teams that will do really well at home, and then they'll have a couple of bad games and a couple of good games, and that will sort of be the way their season goes. Scunthorpe of Yvette, I'm actually really surprised they're still top of the league because they've had some pretty turbulent results as of late, and I do think this will be another one. Darlington at home will thrash Scunthorpe 4-0 to Darlow. Farsley Celtic versus Chorley. Farsley Celtic, what a mare is going on at this club right now. Fans boycotting it because their home games are played at Buxton, which is like a 100-mile round trip or something like that. Absolutely mental. That they've even considered ground sharing with Buxton in 18th, which isn't a surprise. Really bad run of form at the moment. Chorley, they're currently in 2nd, so they're all thinking this was probably going to be a pretty much a formality at this point. However, I think Farsley Celtic will gain something from this, just wanting to try and prove that they can still sustain themselves. 1-1 in this game here. Kings Lynn Town versus Kidderminster Harriers. Both of these teams recently in the National League and 1 point separating them. I mean, Kidderminster Harriers has been the more informed team here, and I think it will be quite a competitive game. I think Kidderminster Harriers will win this one. 4-1 to the Harriers. I think if that will put them at the top of the league, and although they keep on changing whoever's at the top of the league, and that's what makes this league such an exciting one at this current stage of the season. Leamington versus Needham Market. Someone commented on my predictions video this week about what do I think of Needham Market's season so far, and I said it's been pretty poor. It was going to go either one of 2 ways. It would either have ended up like Aveley did last season, of being back-to-back promotions, a bit of an upset, and a run into the playoffs. However, it's more ended up a bit more like Rushall Olympic did last season. So whether Needham Market, I reckon they can gather some results together and maybe get that sort of 19th-ish spot at the end of the season and just about survive. Leamington does provide an opportunity for them to do this. Leamington mid-table team, they'll probably be content with this, and I think Needham Market need the points a bit more. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for Needham Market here. Very, very important 3 points for the Suffolk outfit. Marine versus Spennymoor Town. Another team in valuable need of some points is Marine. They are actually only 2 points out, with not 2 points in the relegation zone. That is the right words. Spennymoor Town, though, I've got some decent form. They are in 11th, having picked up a grand total of 6 points in the last 4 games. Marine did win their last game, though, and I think it might be high time that their fortunes are beginning to turn. I think at home they could get something from this game. 2-1 to Marine here, which would, I believe, unless Radcliffe get a result from my predictions, take them out of, or wanting to get a result, take them out of relegation zone. Oh no, it wouldn't matter. It's only if Radcliffe get the result. Well, Peterborough Sports are the team who are playing Radcliffe, and Peterborough Sports are in 16th. They have had some decent form of late, but I think Radcliffe will want to try and get themselves out of that relegation zone as much as Marine do and Oxford do. However, I think it will be a case of points split in this game, a 0-0 draw, which will push Marine out of that relegation zone, put Oxford in it, and Radcliffe still in 21st. So yeah, I think they'll take a 0-0 draw. And Radcliffe are beginning to get a bit of form themselves. In the last 3 games, they have received 7 points. And that is the sort of form you will need to continue to get out of the relegation zone. Rushall Olympic versus Brackley Town. Absolute curtains for Rushall Olympic this season. It was always going to be a difficult season with them having to spend most of their financial sort of budget in improving their ground instead of improving their squad. So it was always going to be an uphill battle, and it always is going to be against a Brackley Town team who are in really good form as of late. Having won 4 and drawn 1 in the last 5 games, they are a very informed team in the league. I believe the second most informed team in the league behind Kidderminster Harriers. Brackley Town only 2 points away from playoffs as well. I think they will come and win this one. 2-0 to Brackley Town. Scarborough Athletic versus Warrington Town. Scarborough are a team which I would have thought have done slightly better this season. 17th is a bit of a disappointing one. But it is what it is against Warrington Town, who are in 19th. I think they're wanting to get some points here. There's only a point separating them. I think Scarborough want to make sure they don't get dragged into that competition for relegation zone. I don't think Warrington will either. I think it will be a bit of a cancel out here. 2-2 in this game. On to the National League South, we have Bath City versus Salisbury. Bath City, not a great season as of yet. They are in 20th, just above relegation zone. It isn't looking pretty, I must say. And against Salisbury, who are in 19th, I think both of these teams will be desperately wanting points. This could be a really drab 0-0. But if you look at it, because Bath has only scored 13, but if you look at it, Salisbury have scored 22 goals. So they do know how to score, they just don't know how to defend. And I think Salisbury will win this one. 1-0 to Salisbury here. A very close game altogether, though. And Chesham United versus Hampton and Richmond Borough. Chesham United in 12th here. They have been a good credit to this league, I must say. Hampton and Richmond Borough in 10th. I'm a little bit surprised that they're that high. They have won their last 4 games, though. So that does sort of signify where their form is at the moment. I think they will continue that ground stomping form and win 2-1 against Chesham here. And I certainly think for November Manager of the Month, you may have to give it to Hampton and Richmond Borough's manager if they do win this game and the one at the weekend. So, yeah. Actually, the one of this weekend is technically December, isn't it? Or is it? No, that's the last one in November. So, yeah, if they win the next 2 games, it definitely belongs to Hampton Richmond Borough's manager, which is, can I actually remember Hampton Richmond Borough's manager? I feel like it's only justifiable that I give the manager a shout out, Alan Julian, what a man. He's a relatively new manager on the scene as well. Chippenham Town versus Slough Town. Yeah, Chippenham are exactly where you'd expect them to be, in 11th position. Tell me, does this team ever move out mid-table? It is a good question. Slough doing slightly better than I think I would expect in 8th. I would normally expect Slough to be in a bit mid-table position. But I think the Rebels have been a good credit to this league this season. But I do think Chippenham will win this one. 2-1 to Chippenham Town here. Continuing that decent run of form they've had. They've picked up a grand total of 10 points in the last 4 games, which is very good form indeed. On to the next game. We have... Oh, come on, screen. We have the moment of suspense for drum roll. Enfield Town versus Hornchurch, which was literally in the FA Trophy not that long ago. And I think it's somewhat of a North London derby, this one, of sorts. Probably not one that everyone else thinks about, but yeah. Hornchurch have been no disgrace this season. They have certainly cemented themselves mid-table in the league above after being promotion. That's sort of where you want to be, 15th. That's a good platform to build from. Enfield Town have not been great this season. They have picked up 2 points in the last 2 games, which I suppose is something to look on the bright side with. And I think they will pick up another point here. Well, I think they will go down this season. I think looking at that. 1-1 draw here. Farnborough versus Worthing. Farnborough in the playoffs. That team has really seemed to come back to life from their past when they had some severe financial difficulties just about 15 years ago now. Um, Worthing also in the playoffs in 7th. This is going to be a good game. There is only 1 point separating these two. And I think only one team will take all 3 points. And I think that is going to be Worthing, who is going to win it 3-0. Farnborough's form have not been as impressive as Worthing has of late. But yeah, it's an interesting game to keep your eye on, that one. Maidstone United versus Eastbourne Borough. Eastbourne Borough in 3rd. They have certainly been a team which I have been impressed with this season. And people did tell me at the beginning of the season that, I'm underestimating Eastbourne. And it does turn out that I have done. I must apologise. Maidstone, though, are in quite a bit of form themselves. They are one of the more informed teams in the division. And in a sense, to be 14th is a bit of a misrepresentation because of how bad they started the season. So I do think Maidstone will actually win this one 2-0 to the Stones. I think Maidstone may end up doing a bit of a late playoff push by the looks of it. It's not too late at this stage. Torquay United versus Weston-super-Mare. Yeah, Torquay in 5th. They've had a lot of draws as of late. Weston-super-Mare top of the league. What a great performance they have had as of late. They are also got that 3-point cushion, which means as long as they don't lose tonight, they can rest a bit easy. I think it will be a tough game. 3-3 draw here. But yeah, certainly another one to keep your eye out on. Weymouth versus Truro City. Truro City are in 2nd, and Weymouth are down in 22nd. So you'd think it'd be a bit of a formality for the team in 2nd of the Cornish outfit Truro here. But I actually think Weymouth, they're on a bit of a form themselves. Not much of one, I must admit, but they have only lost once in the last 6 games. And 3 points here puts them only 1 point away from safety. I think they could win this one 2-0 at the Bob Lucas Stadium. I think Weymouth will do a great job. Because this is a league when anyone can win against anyone. Let's not forget that. On to tomorrow night's championship occasions. We've got Cardiff City versus Queen's Park Rangers. A relegation battle, if ever there was one. It is a dire time at the moment to be a Queen's Park Rangers fan. Cardiff as well. Cardiff, what a fall from grace. I think Cardiff will actually lose this one, which is not what the Bluebirds will be wanting to hear. I think QPR need to get their 2nd win of the season, and I think they'll do it here. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to QPR. Leeds United versus Luton Town. Luton Town have started to get a bit more form together after that torrid start to the season. But Leeds are top of the league. This is a hard game. But I think Luton could get something from this one. A 1-0 draw at Elland Road. And I think the Hatters will probably willingly take that. Middlesbrough versus Blackburn Rovers. Middlesbrough sitting in 5th in the playoff positions. Not a bad position to be in, must say, at this stage of the season. Yeah, that's where you want to be. Blackburn in 9th. They started the season really strongly. They did taper off a bit, but I think they're starting to slowly get back on track. I think this one could be a very typical game between the two of them, of a 0-0 draw. Although Middlesbrough are the team who I believe have scored the most goals this season. So maybe I'll be wrong with it being a 0-0 draw, but we will see. On to Portsmouth versus Millwall. Yeah, Portsmouth have sunk like their ships outside of their port because they are in 12th. I think that everybody expected them to do a bit better than that. But sorry, in 23rd. They are on 12 points, is what I meant to say. Millwall, they're being quite competitive. They're in 8th and have had some really good form as of late. They have not been beaten in a long time. I think Millwall will be another win here. 1-0 at Fratton Park to the Lions. But yeah, I think Millwall will win this one. Derby County, my beloved Derby County versus Swansea tomorrow. 11th versus 14th. Derby just keep on getting draws this like little bit of run here. And I think this is just going to be another one. I don't mind just getting draws. I really don't, because at the moment we're not really in danger of getting dragged into a relegation battle. We are like 5 points clear of relegation zone and 6 points off the playoffs. I don't think we'll get either. So I'll take a point here, and I think it's going to be a 0-0 draw. Because they did say that we're going to rest Jerry Yates, who is in absolute great form at the moment. But our defence is quite solid as well. I do think we need to go back to just keeping that back two of Cash and Nelson. Solid centre-back partnership, I must say. Ebbsfleet United versus Eastleigh is also on. That one, I think, if you look at it in the National League, Ebbsfleet need to get the points. They are already at 11 points adrift of the relegation safety zone. So just being against, but Eastleigh, I must say, in 12, bit of a deception. They have been really bad of late. I must say, Ebbsfleet will win this one. I'm going with it. I'm going big. 3-0 Ebbsfleet here. It's a bit of a shock, but you guys didn't really expect that one. Forest Green Rovers versus FC Halifax Town. Bit more of a jovial time to be a Forest Green Rovers fan compared to their last few seasons when they sort of tumbled from League One down to the National League. They are now second in the National League. They will quite possibly get back to League Two. FC Halifax Town in 7th. They are in playoffs. I think they'll be content with that sort of position. Maybe want to be slightly more comfortable, but I think they'll take it. 1-0 to FC Halifax Town here I'm going with. Just because I think there's a bit more for Halifax. If York do lose how I predict, I do think Forest Green Rovers will slightly take their eye off the ball, which is slightly what will happen if there's a game the following night. You know what I mean? They can't really do that because Yeovil versus Barnet is also happening that night, and Barnet is only 1 point off the top of the league. And they are up against Yeovil, which is going to be a difficult game. Yeovil are only 1 point off the playoffs themselves, so they'll be wanting to get something from this. But I think Barnet will win this one. It'll be a close game, I must say. 2-1 for Barnet here, and Barnet will go top of the league at the end of midweek, which just shows how much this league is so close together at the moment. Any of them top 3 at the moment could take the title. Come the end of the season, I couldn't really tell you which one at the moment. I hope it's Barnet because that was my predictions at the beginning of the season. So we will see. On to the Friday night fixture in the Premier League. We have Brighton Hove Albion versus Southampton. I've labelled this a South Coast derby. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but it is because I think that was one between AFC Bournemouth and Southampton. But it is certainly a derby nevertheless. It is a good fixture. Brighton, though, in 5th in the Europa League spot at the moment. However, what we're looking at here, we do have the Southampton at the bottom of the league with only 4 points from their 12 games this season. It's not been great to be a Saints fan. It was sort of expected when they got promoted that they weren't going to be able to stay up. I'm going to go with Brighton Hove Albion to win this one fairly comfortably. 3-1 to the Seals. Sheffield United versus Sunderland also on Friday night. This one is a championship top of the table clash. We got Sunderland, as I'm recording, in 2nd and Sheffield United in 3rd, both on 32 points with 2 goals difference. I think Sheffield United's home advantage, I think it will win this one. It will pay out. 2-1 to the Blades here at Bramwell Lane. Will be an interesting game nevertheless. Harrogate Town versus Gainsborough Trinity. We are on to the evening game in the FA Cup here, and Gainsborough Trinity will be looking for an upset. I do think, though, that Harrogate Town, it will actually be a win for them. I think they will want to have a good cup run themselves and won't want to be slipping up against a team like Gainsborough. 2-0 for Harrogate. Brentford versus Leicester City in the Premier League. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. Both of these teams, sort of Leicester probably more so, trying to get that bit of gap between them and the relegation pictures. Brentford, they're not really needing to worry about it at the moment because they can get results. But I think Leicester will want to get something here. Brentford, it will be a place they might be able to get one from. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw here. It's going to be a close game. But Leicester do certainly need to improve on their defence. And if they can do that, they'll certainly get up the league a bit more. Crystal Palace versus Newcastle United. Newcastle United lost 2-0 against West Ham last night, and I must say, the Newcastle were sort of they're gonna do all right this season no matter what. But I think Crystal Palace will be wanting some points here. It's a long trip down to London for the Geordies. And Crystal Palace, if they get some point, like get even a point here, they could theoretically, if the games go their way, get out of the relegation zone. But I think they're going to get all 3 points, which will really help their survival push. 2-0 for Palace here. Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town in the relegation zone. Is anyone really surprised? Nottingham Forest, which is a bit more of a surprise, are in 7th. I do think they'll win this one. I don't like saying it, but I think they will. 2-0 to Forest. It's a bit obvious against an Ipswich team. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus AFC Bournemouth. Wolverhampton Wanderers have started to pick up a bit of form of late. Their last 4 games have been really quite good to watch. Against AFC Bournemouth in 13th, I think people would expect probably Wolverhampton to win this one. I do think AFC Bournemouth will, though. I think it will be a close game, though. 1-0 to the Cherries. West Ham United versus Arsenal. West Ham United will be on a high after beating Newcastle United last night, but Arsenal are no mugs, and if games go their way this week, they could end up in 2nd, and I definitely think they'll be wanting an eye on that. I think they'll win this one fairly hefty, 6-0 to the Gunners. So on to the Championship, we've got Middlesbrough versus Hull City for the earlier kickoff, or one of the earlier kickoffs. It's certainly one to keep an eye on, I must say. Bit of a rivalry. Middlesbrough will be wanting the points at this one to keep their playoff hopes alive. Hull City will also be wanting the points to make sure that they don't end up in League One. It's going to be a close game no matter what. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Tigers here, though if you need it slightly more. Oxford United versus Millwall. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier on in the video about Oxford, have sort of gone a bit down since the start of the season. Millwall on some phenomenal run of form as well. I do think this game will be closer though, 2-2, which I think Oxford will actually take against a very good Millwall team at the present moment. Watford versus Queen's Park Rangers. Yeah, Watford in 7th. They will definitely be wanting to capitalise on certain results going their way, such as maybe that Middlesbrough one, which I just predicted. Against Queen's Park Rangers, who are by far the worst team in the league, I think, in my opinion. It's between them and Portsmouth, both. In terms of attacking output, Queen's Park Rangers have got nothing. So yeah, I'm going to go with a simple 4-0 win for Watford here. Getting them into that playoff position. Blackburn Rovers versus Leeds United. As I said, Blackburn are a team which is a bit all over the place this season, and Leeds will want to sort of continue that push onto trying to secure the title. I think Leeds United will win this one 2-0. Bristol City versus Plymouth Argyle. Bit of a West Country derby, I would say this one. I know Bristol City versus Bristol Rovers is a more traditional derby, and Plymouth Argyle versus Exeter, but I think both of them will also see each other as potential rivals. Plymouth Argyle under Wayne Rooney will be wanting to get something just to make sure that they don't end up getting too much into that relegation battle. Is Bristol City the place to do it? I don't really know. I don't think so. I think Bristol City will win this one 4-1 to the Robins. Coventry City versus Cardiff City. Will we have a new manager for Coventry by this stage? Goodness knows at the moment. Cardiff City in 21st. Yeah, Coventry need to win this one. Otherwise, the fan base will get quite sour. It already is. And I think Cardiff will win this one, actually, because I think they need to point slightly more to make sure they don't get relegated. 2-1 to the Bluebirds. I'm already hesitating saying that. It's one of the ones which, I don't like saying it because it means that, yeah, 2-1 Cardiff. It is a bold prediction on my behalf, I must say. Norwich City versus Luton Town. Norwich City in 13th. I've not been impressed with them this season. Luton Town, equally, probably haven't been as impressed as I thought they would be. I think Luton will get some points here. 1-0 to the Hatters. Preston North End versus West Bromwich Albion. Preston are in very real danger of getting relegated. Like, I know they're in 20th, but only 1 point. And if Hull City do manage, both Hull City and Cardiff are predicting wins, I think Preston this weekend could end up in the relegation zone. West Brom, very difficult team. They're being a good team this season. I think West Brom will win this one. 4-0 to the Baggies. Stoke City versus Burnley. Stoke City in 12th. Very mid-table of them. Burnley in 4th. I do think Burnley will win this one. 1-0 to Burnley. As I said, they don't win by huge margins early on in the video. They win by the slender 1-0s. But that's how they just do it at Burnley. It's quite boring football to watch by Scott Parker, but it is what it is at the end of the day. Swansea versus Portsmouth. Swansea in 14th. I actually have a sneaking suspicion Portsmouth are going to get something from this game, because I think Portsmouth will want to try and get out of that relegation zone as much as anybody. And if I think Portsmouth will win this one 2-1. The Championship is full of upsets, and Swansea is definitely a team where you could get a win. So yeah. On to the FA Cup, we got Wealdstone versus Wycombe Wanderers. Very interesting game, this one. Wealdstone in the National League, they are struggling in the National League, and Wycombe doing very well in League One. They'll be hoping desperately not for the slip up here, and I think they'll avoid it. 1-0 to Wycombe. I don't think it will be disgraced by Wealdstone, though, certainly not. Accrington Stanley versus Swindon Town. Yeah, both of these sort of struggling as is in League Two. I don't know how much either of them would necessarily be wanting a cup run. But I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw here. A nice game to watch, but I think Swindon Town are going to win on penalties, because obviously they're abolished for replays due to Premier League directives from above, which I don't think people actually wanted or liked, including myself. Barnsley versus Bristol Rovers. Yeah, so Barnsley going really quite strong, as I already said this episode, against Bristol Rovers. I think it will be a Barnsley win. 2-1 to the Tykes here. Although Bristol Rovers are known for having some good FA Cup runs. Cambridge United versus Wigan Athletic. Both of these are struggling along this season, but I think Wigan Athletic have a bit more of a financially sustainable model than Cambridge at the moment, because they got that new ownership. I think Cambridge are sort of a bit more reliant on the FA Cup, and they have been known for going on good FA Cup runs in the past. Let us not forget that. I think Cambridge United will win this one 2-0 for the U's here, putting them into the hat for the third round, and could get a really exciting tie. Crawley Town versus Lincoln City. Crawley Town just above a relegation zone in League One. Lincoln City a bit of an underdogs. I think both of these will be wanting them it more, but I think Crawley Town will win this one. 3-0 to Crawley Town here, continuing to improve their budget, and that's what the FA Cup is sort of about as well. A glamorous tie for Crawley Town. Maybe even if it's like up against Brighton and Hove Albion, get a lot of fans into the club. You also get a lot of money for the TV deal, maybe, if that happened. Yeah. Exeter City versus Chesterfield. Yeah, Exeter City mid-table in League One. Chesterfield doing all right in League Two as well. I think Exeter will win this one. It's a long way for the Spirax to go. 2-1 to the Gretchians. Yeah, would be a good to get them in the third hat, though. I would rather Chesterfield, though. Leyton Orient versus Oldham Athletic. This is a huge potential for Leyton Orient to get an upset here, as in be upsetted upon by Oldham. But I don't think it will be that way inclined. I think Leyton are actually going to want to get some points. I know it's not points in the FA Cup, but wanting to get some points to get them away from that relegation zone in the league. And they need somewhere to get some form, and the FA Cup is in no better place to do it. Against an Oldham team 2 leagues below, they could use it as a good chance to reset here. I'm going with 4-0 to Leyton Orient. I think it'll provide, and maybe if they put on some people who are maybe on a bit on the fringes and they star really well, they might think, oh, we'll go home and we'll chuck them in the first team for the next league match, and suddenly their fortunes change. We will see. Morecambe versus Bradford City. Morecambe struggling along in League One. Bradford are sort of in and around the playoff picture. League Two, sorry, I didn't mean to say League One. So yeah, I think this will be an interesting one. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, quite close here. But Morecambe to win it on penalties, because I think Morecambe do need the money slightly more. A good glamorous tie as well. Maybe Morecambe at home to someone like, oh, I know it's the Championship ones who come in next. Maybe against like a team like Blackburn Rovers wouldn't be too bad of a game. Or even Burnley, like a fellow Lancashire team at home would be huge for them. Peterborough United versus Notts County. Yeah, so Peterborough, we've not really talked about Peterborough this video because they didn't have a midweek game, and you just sort of look at Peterborough and you normally expect them to be in the playoffs, and being in 12th. I think a little bit disappointment concerning Peterborough this season. But against Notts County, who are doing well in League Two, Notts County could feasibly win this one, but I think Peterborough will. 2-0 to Posh here, and that'll give them a bit of confidence. Salford City versus Cheltenham Town. Both in League Two, both in League Two's mid-table. I think Salford City will win this one. 2-1 to Salford City here at the Peninsula Stadium. But yeah, could go either way. Stevenage versus Mansfield Town. I thought Stevenage was going to be slightly better than they are this season. They're in 15th, which is still a decent position. But against Mansfield, who are the team who can cause havoc for anyone. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw here. I think both teams will sort of cancel each other out. And Mansfield Town to win on penalties. Nigel Clough was always better in the EFL Cup, I seem to recall. But we can see if he does well in the FA Cup here. Stockport County versus Brackley. Yes, Stockport County left Brackley Town for absolute dust, as Stockport County are now in League One, whereas Brackley are still struggling to get out of that National League North picture. But I think, so a bit of an upset for Brackley. I think there's going to be a 1-0 draw in this game here, with Brackley Town winning on penalties. Yeah, I know, absolute scenes, but you got to get some like non-league clubs who have a bit of a cheeky FA Cup run, don't you? Yeah. Walsall versus Charlton Athletic. I think Walsall here are going to be concentrating on the league. I think they're going to particularly want to try and make sure that they're going to keep that title challenge pressing up against Port Vale. It seems to be all the sort of West Midlandy based clubs, doesn't it, in that positions at the moment? Well, Port Vale, Walsall, and Crewe Alexandra are all within the top three, or who you would say would probably be considered sort of West Midlands-ish clubs. Crewe near Stoke, Walsall very much West Midlands, Port Vale also literally almost in Stoke. So yeah, any of them could be an interesting one. So very much West Midlands centric there. Charlton Athletic, mid-table, not got much to play for this season. So a good FA Cup run will certainly improve the mood for the Addicts fans. 1-0 to Charlton here. Yeah, get their name in the hat for the next round. Maybe drawing a team which, like Millwall, which will be a good game for the fans. AFC Wimbledon versus Dagenham and Redbridge. Yeah, good game. Both of these in London, different sides of London, though. I think, for me, Dagenham and Redbridge will win this one here. So I'm going to go with a cheeky upset. A 1-0 for the Daggers here. We're going to go with a cheeky non-league backing upset. Partly because I felt like I've not predicted enough upsets in the cup competitions of late. Carlisle United versus Crewe Alexandra. This is not in the FA Cup. This is in League Two, because there's a couple of League Two games because both of these teams were eliminated. I think a lot of the people won't have their necessary eye on this game too much because it's in League Two. I think we're going to have a bit of a shock here. I think Carlisle might get a point, which will push them outside the relegation zone because the other teams won't be playing. I think they're going to get a point. A 0-0 draw here would push Carlisle out of the relegation zone into 22nd. Yeah. Fleetwood Town versus Colchester United. Colchester are such an interesting team. I was looking the other day and was like, they were in the championship at one point. What did happen to Colchester? I shall never entirely know. But Fleetwood, again, one of them teams that need to just get a bit more consistency. And I think they will win this one. I'm going to go with 4-0 to Fleetwood Town here. On to the National League, and most of the games are still being played at this level now because most of them have been knocked out of the cup. Yeah, we have Braintree Town versus Gateshead to kick us off here. Gateshead in fourth, but I think there is a chance for them to have a trip up here against a Braintree team who will be wanting to make sure they do not get relegated. 2-0 to Braintree Town here. Just making sure that they get the... it's a long way for Gateshead fans to travel, and for Braintree, it will be one of them ones where getting points like that, 3 points there, will be enough to keep them up this season. Ebbsfleet United versus Boston United, but bottom two teams in the league up against each other. Both will be desperately wanting 3 points. Both cancel each other out. A 0-0 draw. Yeah, pretty boring. FC Halifax Town versus Southend United. Southend United in 16th, which is not a bad position. Well, no, that is a bad position, sorry. It's FC Halifax Town who are in a bad position in 7th. But I think Southend will be wanting to get some points. 1-1 draw here at the Shea. Hartlepool United versus Barnet. Barnet are going to want to continue their amazing run of form that they are on at the moment. And against a team like Hartlepool, who aren't the greatest this season, I think it's a good chance. 2-1 to Barnet here. Sutton United versus AFC Fylde. As I was saying, Sutton United could get some bit of form if they try. And up against AFC Fylde, it's a good chance to get some 3 points. AFC Fylde are struggling along this season. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Sutton United here. Woking versus Yeovil Town. Woking is in 18th, but as I said before, they will be all right because they just get the most random results. And I think they will here. Yeovil Town should theoretically get all 3 points because they're in 9th and only a point off the playoffs. But I don't think they will. I think Woking, the Cardinals, will win 1-0. York City versus Maidenhead United. York City are at the top of the league as I'm recording, but I don't think they will be by the time that this game occurs. And Maidenhead will have won the last game according to my predictions. And I think another bit of form, maybe, just to sort of rescue Alan Devonshire's career a bit. A 1-1 draw here, which I don't think Maidenhead fans will complain about at all. That would be 4 points in 2 games. And certainly, if certain games do go their way, they could definitely get out that relegation zone picture, especially with Wealdstone not playing this weekend. It's a huge chance to get out of the relegation zone. On to the National League North, we've got Chorley versus Curzon Ashton. Bit of a close game, this one, I reckon. Both of the teams are doing really well this season, and predictably, as it comes with both heavy-weighted expectations, it's going to be a 0-0 draw. Yeah. Hereford versus Rushall Olympic. Hereford are actually quite close to getting into the playoffs. They are a bit of a surprise package I've got this season. They're normally more around the mid-table pack. Rushall Olympic, they've not been great this season. They've just not been. I think Hereford to win this one at 1-0. I think Rushall fans just need to make the most of being in this league, even though they may lose a lot of the matches. Being in the Southern Central, which is most likely where they'll be, will be a good chance for them to have a reset as well. Kidderminster Harriers versus Leamington. Leamington mid-table, so yeah, against Kidderminster Harriers. I think Kidderminster Harriers have a potential to slip up here. A 0-0 draw. They're quite close, these two teams as well. Leamington will bring a lot of fans, I imagine. So yeah, Leamington will be wanting to get a point as well to make sure that they don't get a sustained bad run and get into the relegation picture. Needham Market versus Scarborough Athletic. As I said with the last fixture, I thought that Needham Market will win the last game, and I think they're going to get a point in this one. They're just going to go from strength to strength here because Scarborough is a place that you can get a point. They've not been the greatest this season. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw, which will certainly make Needham Market in that position look a bit more stable and actually starting to get a bit of results together. Oxford City versus Farsley Celtic. Both of these teams are not being impressed this season with at all. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw here. Nothing much in the game. It doesn't help either amount, a huge amount either. Radcliffe versus Darlington. Radcliffe will be wanting to get some points to try and get out that relegation zone. And Darlington, good chance because they are everywhere. They're a very mid-table team at home as well. I'm going to go Radcliffe to draw 0-0 with Darlington here. Scunthorpe United versus Alfreton Town. Obviously, with Alfreton predicting them to win the last game, if they do so, they will have won the last 3. However, Scunthorpe are a decent outfit, and I think they'll be wanting to get into some good form again. I'm going to go with 1-0 to Scunthorpe United here at Glanford Park. It's one of them things that, yeah, Scunthorpe surely too big for National League North. South Shields versus Peterborough Sports. A bit of a mid-table clash here, 12th versus 16th, 3 points separating the two. I think Peterborough Sports will win this one, 2-1. It's nothing game though. Southport versus Marine. Bit of a Merseyside derby, this one, and so therefore I think there's a little bit of local bragging rights, and I do think Southport will actually turn up for this one. I'm going to go with 2-0 to Southport here, being at home. Yeah. Spennymoor Town versus Buxton. Spennymoor in 11th, having had some good form of late, but Buxton, let's talk about Buxton. They are doing fabulous this season in 4th position, 1 point off the top of the league. I don't think anyone really expected Buxton to be up there come this stage of the season, and I'm thinking Buxton's going to win it. 3-2 here for Buxton. Warrington Town versus Chester. Again, another bit of a local derby, a bit of Cheshire derby going on. It's a very interesting one. Warrington Town hosting this one. And when it comes to local derbies, the hosts do have a bit of an advantage. I think Warrington Town will win this one. They need the points. Both need the points for different reasons, but I think Warrington will need it just to ease the nerves a bit. 1-0 to Warrington Town. On to the National League South, got Bath City versus Boreham Wood. Bath City in desperate need to get some points just to make sure that they don't get relegated because they are very precarious at the moment. Against Boreham Wood, who have been a bit of an all-over-the-shop team this season, not really sure where to put them. I think it's going to be a 1-0 for the Bath City here at Twerton Park. Good result for them. Chelmsford City versus Slough Town. I mean, Chelmsford have been a little bit underwhelming this season. I would say that, considering where they were last season. Against Slough, who have been a decent outfit this season, I do think it'll be a close game, a 1-1 draw here. Chesham United versus Eastbourne Borough. As I was alluding to earlier, Chesham have impressed me. It does take something to get that good run of form to push to 12th from getting promoted. Eastbourne, though, again, have also incredibly impressed me with 3rd. I think a 1-1 draw here, it would be a fair result. Dorking Wanderers versus Truro City. At the moment, it's 2nd versus 4th, and 1 point separating them and 1 goal in goal difference terms. Oh, very, very difficult. Dorking are free-flowing, scored the most amount of goals by far this season at 42, but have also conceded a lot. They're a bit like the Leeds United of Bielsa in the National League South. There's a bit of a defensive acumen, though, by Truro, only conceded 16. Whew. I'm going to go with Dorking to win this one, 2-1 at home. Enfield Town versus Torquay United. Yeah, Torquay in 5th here. It's one of them games which, yeah, I think Torquay will be very much expected to win. And we're up against Enfield Town, who, as I was saying, haven't been doing great. I think Torquay will win this one, 2-1 to Torquay. Farnborough versus Chippenham Town. I think Farnborough will be slight favourites coming into this, considering the playoffs. I don't think Chippenham will make the playoffs this season. It would be quite a shock if they did. Yeah, Farnborough to win this one, 3-1. Hornchurch versus Hampton and Richmond Borough. Yeah, they're not too far away from each other, these two teams. They're both in the western half of London. I think Hampton Richmond Borough will win this one. As I said, they got some good form. And if they do win that one, fully deserving the Manager of the Month award. 1-0 to Hampton and Richmond Borough, making it 6 wins in a row. According to my predictions, that will be absolutely huge. Maidstone United versus St Albans City. St Albans need the points. They're in 23rd, and I don't think they'd really want to be relegated here. Yeah, I think St Albans to win this one, 2-1. Which would be good, because that, I think, will push them up a bit into and make it survival seem all that more likely. On to Salisbury versus Hemel Hempstead Town. Yeah, Hemel Hempstead I'm not convinced about, I must say. If they've not sacked, I think they may have sacked their manager by this point in proceedings, because if they haven't, well, what's going on? I think Salisbury to gain a point here, 2-2 draw, but Hemel Hempstead need to get them points. They're just getting further and further down. They're lucky that they had a good start to the season, otherwise they would be rooted at the bottom of the table. On to Weymouth versus Tunbridge Angels. 22nd Weymouth, but they have got some form going for them, I must say. Tunbridge Angels, we've not really talked about this video. They're in 13th, bit of mid-table, bit all over the place. So yeah, we can see a draw here, a 1-1 draw. Worthing versus Weston-super-Mare. Worthing in 7th, Weston-super-Mare top of the league. At home, though, I think Worthing have got this. I'm going to go 4-2 to Worthing. Great game, though, to watch. On to the Premier League games on Super Sunday. We got Chelsea versus Aston Villa. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw here. Both of these teams have been impressive this season. There is no denying that. But I think they will cancel each other out. Manchester United versus Everton. Manchester United need to get some wins, otherwise they are in very much danger of ending up getting dragged into a relegation picture, which is mental to say. Like, if Everton win here, like, let me just whip out the Premier League table. Manchester United are in 12th, so we're in a mid-table at the moment. They are currently 7 points clear of relegation zone, so not really what you would explain as a relegation zone picture. If Everton win, Everton, who are on 11, get up to 14 points. That's 2 points behind Manchester United. That does definitely put already the new manager of Manchester United under instant pressure, and he's desperately trying to get rid of that pressure in pre-match interviews, saying like it's not going to be a quick fix. I do think Manchester United will win this one, 2-0 to United, because they can't afford to end up getting dragged into a relegation picture. Tottenham Hotspur versus Fulham. Fantastic result by Tottenham last week and against Manchester City, it must be said. And I think they will continue that good momentum against Fulham here. Fulham haven't been a discredit or disgrace at all this season in 9th. I do think Tottenham is slightly better. 2-0 to Spurs here. The game we've all been waiting for, Liverpool versus Manchester City. Liverpool on 31 points at top of the league. Manchester City in second in 23 points. So already an 8 points gap. And as ever with these things, it does end up the case that it does end up not ending up being living up to the hype, I would say. A 1-1 draw here. I'm going to go with Derby County versus Sheffield Wednesday. We need to get 3 points against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't care what you're trying to say. We've had a lot of draws of late, and I think this is just going to be another one, though. A 0-0 draw. It will be such a poor-worn thing to do. But no. Unfortunately, I want to get more than a point, especially at home. We have got good home form, though. Kettering Town versus Doncaster Rovers. I think Kettering are going to push it for a draw, a 1-1 draw, and then I think Doncaster Rovers will win it on penalties. The quality will shine through. Blackpool versus Birmingham City. a League One occasion here. I think that's going to be also a 0-0 draw. I don't think either of the teams overly want it. Blackpool more concerned about staying up. Birmingham City more concerned about promotion. I think Blackpool will win it on penalties, though, which will certainly um, improve morale maybe around the team. I don't know. Burton Albion versus Tamworth. Burton Albion have been disgustingly poor this season, and I think Tamworth could actually win this one. 2-1 to Tamworth here. A bit of a local boy back in the day, this. When they both played in the Southern League, and the Conference South, they both and even Conference, they were definitely like a good local rivalry. So it's nice to see that being rekindled in a sense. And yeah, I don't think next season, but Tamworth are a team going in the right direction at the moment. Reading versus Harbour Town. Harbour Town, again, another team pushing for a draw. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw. Reading to win on penalties. Bit boring, I know. Solihull Moors versus Bromley. The replay of the final of the National League playoffs last season. Solihull Moors lost both the FA Trophy and the playoff finals on penalties last season. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw here, but I do think Solihull Moors are going to come back with a vengeance and actually win the penalty shootout here to put them into the next round. Yeah, payback time. Aveley versus Maidstone United in the National League South for some reason. There's some National League South games on Monday. It's a bit confusing. I think Aveley will win this one. They need to keep that momentum going. 2-0 to Aveley here. Chelmsford City versus Boreham Wood. As I said, I think this game was meant to come on last week, but didn't. 4-3 to Boreham Wood. I'm not changing my prediction for that. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new around here, please do subscribe. I've actually just thought an idea in terms of a video which I can do on maybe Friday, sometime around then, in terms of your non-league club, where is the best run they've done in the FA Cup? That will be an interesting one to go and see. But if you did enjoy, please do subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next week's predictions or before. Goodbye for now.